In truth, right? Operate in truth. Tell the truth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Gator Truth. On this episode, we'll talk about the Gators' upcoming homecoming matchup with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And I will say this Mississippi State team is kind of going in the direction I thought they would under Jeff Lebby. They have been a tough out for most teams so far. Just from the get-go, figured we'd talk about that a little bit. They're 4-2 with their biggest win, of course, coming against Arizona State back in week 2. And they are 0-2 in SEC play, losing to Tennessee in overtime back during the Gators bye week. And then in a game that, for the most part, was closer than what the score looks like, lost to A&M at Kyle Field 2 weeks ago, 31-9. And what do I mean it was closer than the score looked like? Well, it was 7-3 at the half. And going into the fourth quarter, it was 14-3 with A&M scoring shortly before the end of the third quarter. So this is a team that can really put up a fight. And of course, just like with the Florida game, Mississippi State got worn down and gave up points at the end. Florida game at A&M. So this is a team that's pretty dangerous coming into town. And of course, I won't stray away right off the get-go. There are conflicting rumors about whether this is Billy Napier's last game or not. I do think with the rumors that are out there, I can say it's probably his last game in the swamp, unless he does a Ron Zook, a Ron Zook or Will Muschamp deal where they're fired, but they finish out the year. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. Of course, Yahoo Sports and others came out yesterday. This is being recorded on Thursday, came out on Wednesday the 15th, saying there was a meeting with multiple boosters and that Billy Napier's gone win or lose. Since then, reports have come out. I think Dave Waters was the first one to report it from Gators Breakdown that report was not fully true, that the meeting was one booster and there was not ultimatums given. And so it's really just a source war. And is the second message damage control? Is it not? Who knows? But just something out there. I would be shocked, just again off the bat, if we saw Billy Napier coaching another game in the swamp, because of course next week being a bye week, then we play Georgia in Jacksonville, then we go to Kentucky, followed by a trip to Ole Miss. So we've got 4 weeks after this, none of which are at home, multiple chances, 4 more losses in there, and I just don't see a way if Florida gets to 7 losses. I don't think they do in that stretch, but somewhere where it guarantees a losing season, I don't see them on the sideline for the rivalry games at the end, which looked like a cool thing when the schedule came out. Now it's looking like the rivals might be able to have some fun with us, but we'll see how that goes coming out. Of course, I'm saying all this, Billy might be let go on Sunday. And if he's let go on Sunday, you never know. We may see Russ Callaway come in and do things as a play caller that I thought maybe we'd see some of his influence do. I mean, we see the scripted drives. I know as the OC, he probably has a big hand in at least those, where we've marched down the field against Texas, where we marched down the field against A&M. And I'm pretty sure LSU, I'm not fully thinking of at the moment, first drives, and we score a touchdown. And so we've seen the scripted drives work. Imagine if we had that unpredictability for the rest of the game. And I think if there's a change made, maybe we see that. maybe we do see us pull off some of these games. We don't know if we will or not. But point is, all that is for future talk, but I didn't want to just leave it unaddressed before getting in and talking about this, what I believe is a dangerous Mississippi State team. Also, again, there's no opposing sideline. This time, I just want to give my thoughts out to Landon, our Mississippi State contact, who's I've done lots of work with, both on this podcast and hopping on a few others with him. Unfortunately, has a family funeral, so we were not able to hook up. So thoughts with him. He's a really great guy. Got to meet him last year after the Mississippi State game. Hopefully, he and I will hook up in the future. Definitely a guy you got to give him credit covering Mississippi State, and it's not been a few good years for them, but it looks like they're starting to get the nose up, so that's always good. With that said, let's go ahead, let's get into the game. And first thing, as always, we talk about the offense. I always have the first key because I really think this is important to the offense, and that's run the ball, which everyone, has been saying whether they listen to this podcast or not, but definitely you got to do it. Jaden Baugh is one of the top offensive weapons, if not the top offensive weapon on your team, especially if the offensive line is having a good day. Hardly gets tackled with the first guy coming in to make a tackle, so that's beneficial as well. Mississippi State comes in with the 100th ranked run defense in the nation. And so they're not good against the run. And sure, they've faced, some good backs at A&M, some good running, a good running attack for Tennessee and Arizona State. But also on their schedule, we're looking at a schedule that has featured Southern Miss, Alcorn State, and Northern Illinois. So not exactly the toughest kind of coming in. And some of this, I should switch this up a little bit. Some of that is also, I would say, teams aren't running. Like, for example, I doubt when Southern Miss got down multiple scores that they're running too much, or when Alcorn State was down by 40 plus points. Of course, that game was 63-0, that they were running too much, and then Northern Illinois down multiple scores is probably not running too much. So that probably assists. That would actually help their defense. I should actually reverse what I'm thinking. Actually helps their defense, but when you look, they're still 100th in the nation against the run. Sorry, I confused myself there for a second. My point's still the same, though, generally, and that's when they face the better teams, they have given up plenty against the run, so much so that they're giving up a ton of yards and are 100th in the nation. So if you can get Jaden Baugh going, this is a game he might be able to get to a $125, $150 if you see the blocking. Of course, I'm always going to say this just because we've seen it be an issue throughout the season. The offensive line, the tight end position do need to improve on their blocking. At A&M, it was bad, and it was really sad that part of the bad was a former all-SEC performer in Austin Barber. But the whole unit's got to be good, especially when you're going against an overmatched opponent like Mississippi State is, at least talent-wise. If you can get Baugh, 2-3 yards before contact, we know the first guy's not bringing him down. That's going to turn into 5-10-yard runs, and it's going to really help establish this so we don't have to go to the passing game. And not that I think I know our passing game's not great. We're 69th in the nation. I know there's someone out there saying, nice. But anyways, 69th in the nation in passing. But Mississippi State has a top 25 pass defense. So another key here is unpredictability in the passing game, because many times we can sit here and say, hey, third down, we're going to see a slant or throw short of the sticks. Or the favorite from last week, we're going to run the screen on 3rd and 1,000,000, see what happens. And hopefully we don't see some unpredictability. I will say we did see more slants last week that were not on, 3rd down, 4th down, stuff like that. So it does help, but we got to be unpredictable in the passing because this Mississippi State passing defense is top 25. And I will say, going back to my point earlier that I kind of switched myself on, misspoke. This is a team that did probably have to, face more passing against these teams that they're up against. This is you figure A&M or Tennessee, or especially Tennessee, putting up 41 points, you'd be expecting, with all the yards they put up, for them not to be a top 25 pass defense when they gave up 335 yards to Aguilar. But, for example, Marcel Reed, only 180 yards going, and Sam Leavitt at Arizona State against Mississippi State was 10 of 22 for only 82 yards. And that is a very, very interesting result for that defense because Leavitt is a good QB when he's healthy. Hasn't played for a while, but 82 yards, I don't care how annoying those cowbells are. That is shockingly bad, and you got to give credit to the defense on that. So if we can run well against a 100th ranked run defense, then that'll help open up the passing game. Of course, again, the talent we have, and I say this every episode, the talent we have of a Trey Wilson, a VB3, and Aiden Mizell, and especially Dallas Wilson, they should be able to just do what they want on anybody, but there are limitations to this scheme, so we will see. But if we don't have to put all the pressure on DJ Lagway, we don't have to put the pressure on the passing game because we're taking advantage of a bad run defense, then by all means, I'm all about that. Moving to the defense, first thing I've got to say is solid run defense. And you see me say this almost every week. It's almost always a key. Number one key this week, because their top running back, and I love this name. If you're watching on YouTube, you probably see this up there and you're like, that's not the real name, is it? Yes, it is. Fluff Bothwell. Try and say that one 3 times fast. He has, I believe, 5.5 yards per carry. This is a really, really good run game from Mississippi State. And it's funny, he averages 5.5 yards per carry, but didn't get too many yards in those first few games. I believe against Arizona State only has 34 yards, but then starts to get more carries. And Tennessee, 134 yards. Texas A&M, 60 yards. And when you consider how great that Texas A&M defense is, that 60 yards is about what Jaden Baugh did. And that's with a less talented O-line and less talented players around him. So I would say we definitely need to make sure we have that solid run D to make sure that Fluff is not, going crazy on us. And if we're solid that run D, it's going to open up doors for this defense, kind of like how our solid run D opened up many doors against Texas. And also part of that is disciplined defense. And of course, we've talked about maintaining the edge. We've talked about, hey, our safety can't be blowing, the very first play of the game like they did against A&M, or the very first defensive play of the game against A&M by someone being completely out of position. You got to be disciplined. Jeff Levy is a great offensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach now, but this is a guy who knows offense. He can scam, he can write stuff up. And you better believe there are probably things he's seen on tape against our defense, because if you remember, Texas had a few big plays that they just missed the throw on. A&M had a few big plays, and there were a few that they just missed. And of course, there are things like not getting set against USF. What can we see out of Jeff Levy? I don't know. This is a guy who, again, took Tennessee to overtime. This is a guy who took A&M on the road to the fourth quarter with a team that was 2-10 last year, and then lost one of their best offensive weapons, if not their best offensive weapon, Craver, to A&M. So I'm just saying, this is a Mississippi State team we definitely need to keep an eye on, but we do want to try and force Shapen to beat us. Shapen is a solid but not spectacular quarterback, and if we are holding that run defense and we're trying to force him to beat us with a pass, that is not what Mississippi State has done well this year. Shapen at Tennessee, against Tennessee, 175 yards. At Texas A&M, 142 yards. If we can keep Fluff from doing his stuff, then we've got a chance against this passing game, and we definitely will need it. I mean, we're talking about there might be even more injuries on the secondary. We will see Friday what is for sure. I believe that Jordan Castell was questionable. Of course, we have, Devin Moore out. Dijon Johnson has been out. So Castell, Aaron Gates, Dijon Johnson. I don't know if I saw Cormani on there. I could be missing on that. But the point is, the secondary, we knew if everyone was healthy was going to be good. But as we start going, further down, there's inexperience and unpredictability. So again, if we can have the solid run D and start seeing, that force the issue with the passing game like we saw against Texas with the Swamp, who is hopefully still in it, gives our defense a good chance to help force a win. I mean, the Swamp itself was a big part in the win over Texas, and I think it could be even more so against Mississippi State. And then finally, just general things for the team. I want to see few penalties. Generally didn't have too many last week. I mean, we like I said in the review, Dallas Wilson, freshman mistake, blocking people too far out of bounds. That's something that should be cleaned up, but it's nothing that I'm just going to hate on a kid for. Because he's giving effort. It's not like he's spitting on a player, which reminds me, no dumb penalties like spitting on a player, or what was it? We did a hands to the face that got Texas an extra 15 yards and almost got them into position. Thank God we got a sack that ended the game, because if not, they had a few chances to get there and make it a little bit more exciting. And of course, no special teams flags. And last week we did get a dumb special teams flag where we had, what was it? I think we netted 65, 66 yards, but then got a flag. And so they were like, yeah, re-kick it. And that 66 yards net became 36 yards net. Can't be doing that, because I think that ended up giving A&M some points with a short field. And also, it is crucial, just like it was against Texas and every game this year, it's crucial to start strong. especially right now while you've got reports Billy Napier may or may not be fired. You've got plenty of fans that are really, really out, even more so than there were before the Texas game, because a lot of people were like, okay, we only have 3 losses, but once it gets to 4 and it looks like, okay, crap, we've got Georgia and Ole Miss and Tennessee and FSU, they look like they might be able to beat us. Yeah, that's not good. And if you don't start strong, if you don't start and get the crowd into it, you're not going to have the crowd going nuts, causing issues. I said earlier, the crowd was a big part in the win over Texas, and I believe the crowd would be a big part in a win over Mississippi State. But if you come out, you start slow, especially if you start slow and Mississippi State gets a hot start because the crowd's not causing problems, then it's going to get ugly. Whether it's fair or not, it'll get ugly in the swamp on homecoming, and you don't want that. One thing I'd like to see is a big special teams play, kind of like we saw against Texas with the block punt, or one of the many big returns that we've seen that have kind of helped spark touchdown drives so far this year. And so homecoming 2025 has a lot of craziness surrounding it. We will see those great throwback uniforms, the orange helmets with the interlocking UF. Last time we wore these was homecoming with Vandy back in 2021, 42-0 victory. I don't see us winning 42-0 this game against Mississippi State. Like I said, I do believe this is a dangerous team. With that said, we still have more talent. And I think the players are really going to go out and go all out for their embattled coach. It'll be interesting. Of course, you think back to Jim McElwain knowing he was not coaching another game before the Georgia game in 2017, and the craziness that caused. I believe the game ended up like 42 or 49-7. I don't know. I didn't see the end of it. My ride decided to leave, and then I had to walk across Jacksonville and through a block party with just like 4 of us in parts of Jacksonville we probably shouldn't have been in. But that's a story for another time. So one of the few games I've left early in the past 20 years. But with that said, if something like that has happened, it'll be interesting to see how the coaches and team respond. I only bring that McElwain situation up because do the players basically don't care as they seem to in that game in Jacksonville, or do they come out and 2004 Florida State say it's the last game and we're going to do everything and we're going to pull off the win? Now, granted, this Mississippi State team is not that Florida State team in 2004. But as far as what we're going to see from the players, who knows? Or maybe they've been told, hey, the fate is not sealed yet. It's up to you. If you go out and do X, Y, and Z, this party's going to keep rolling. I don't know. But with that said, what is my score prediction for this game? I would tell you that my score prediction for this game is Florida 24, Mississippi State 21. I do think they get on the board. I think that some of our secondary issues could maybe open something up for them. And by secondary issues, of course, I'm talking about the injuries and also this dangerous running attack with a creative guy like Jeff Lebby. They might be able to figure a few things out. We'll see. And hopefully our defense, which has generally been good, keeps them a lot less than that. I do think that we score. I do think Jaden Baugh will have himself a day. So 24-21, Florida wins homecoming, and then we await to see whether or not the news about Sunday is true or not. With that said, I'll catch you Sunday or Monday, depending on the news, or I'll record Sunday or Monday, depending on the news. And we'll see what happens. But either way, it's go Gators. Either way, it's show up to homecoming, cheer on our boys in the orange and blue, and have a great Saturday in the Swamp. Thank you all for listening. And as always, go Gators.